Let's face it, if you're a designer, the tools that you use can make a big impact in the efficiency and how fast you can deliver projects and make your projects more profitable. In this video, I want to share with you some of the top tools which I've been using over the past years and decade as a designer, and that are going to enable you to speed up your workflow and make the whole process more easy and fast. And just before we get started, I want to remind you that I recently created a free course on how to get started in UI UX design, sharing my over a decade of experience in this field and working with over 40 clients. And basically, I'm sharing everything that I wanted to know when I first started out, but nobody told me about. So if you're interested in joining this field, feel free to check the link in the description. But now, without further ado, let's jump right into the video. So the very first tool which I use on a daily basis is Figma. Now, this might not come as a surprise since I recently created so many video tutorials about Figma, and I also created different videos explaining the differences between Figma and other very common and famous design tools such as Sketch and Adobe XD. But nowadays, Figma is my go-to tool when it comes to design work. And the reason being is that it allows you to create the designs in a very fast and efficient way, but primarily one of the biggest advantage points in Figma is the ability to collaborate with designers and the clients completely remotely. And if you've been following my journey for a while, you know that I worked 100% remotely for the past 8 years, ever since I went away from London. And Figma is free to use. There's also some premium packages, but for the very most part, you can use it entirely for free, especially if it's for personal use. You can try it here. And yeah, I have a lot of tutorials if you want to learn Figma, so definitely you're in the right channel if that's what you're looking for. Now let's move on to the very next software, which is Sketch. Now I've been using Sketch for years, but recently I actually dialed down on the use of Sketch simply because Figma is taking most of my time. I now have one single client and we're using Figma, so there isn't really a need to use Sketch, but I do use it from time to time. There were some little things which I like in Sketch, which still makes me use it on, I wouldn't say on a daily basis, but almost. So it's definitely another alternative, and it's a software which really created a revolution in the design industry years ago when everybody was using Photoshop or other similar softwares, and then Sketch came to the place, and it literally dominated the UI UX design world for quite some time, and it still is a big player. So if you're looking to learn Sketch, you're definitely not missing out on anything really, because it can enable you to create any type of projects in a very efficient way. Now, another big player in the industry, and I would say it's the one which I currently use the least out of all of them, but it's not because of its capabilities, because it enables you to create any type of projects really, is Adobe XD. And this one is really big, especially in some companies where they use a lot of Adobe softwares, and Adobe XD is really great to work if you have projects in Photoshop or Illustrator, and you have to do some back and forth between those softwares. There's some things which makes it easier to use and kind of like cross use with those other Adobe softwares. So definitely Adobe XD is a great choice if you're looking to learn a design software this year. Now let's move on to the very next stage from the design, which is of course developing your apps and websites. And talking about websites, my favorite software in order to help create and translate all the designs from any of these previous softwares, Figma, Sketch, or Adobe XD, is Webflow, since it enables you to create stunning websites and without having to jump into the code, but still giving you all of the granular options, and essentially makes coding easier, and you're not coding actually almost at all in Webflow. Everything is visual, although there is a learning curve, and you must have a basic understanding of front-end coding, especially when you're especially creating some custom designs. It's not easy peasy as it might look right out of the box, but if you have a basic understanding and you learn the basics of Webflow, there's like, the sky is the limit. You can create all sorts of different websites which look stunning, and it's just very easy to, as you can see, you can literally, instead of hopping in the code and coding all this up, you can literally use this almost drag and drop editor and make all of these edits more visually. So it's definitely a great solution if you're looking to build up websites as well. Now, the other software which I use on a daily basis is Slack, and Slack is essentially to communicate with teams. It enables you to create easy workflows, meaning that it's like the WhatsApp for business, if you wish. It just makes it very easy to communicate. I also use it internally with friends and family. Have a Slack channel, and you can create Slack channels in no time. So definitely, if you're looking to work in an easy way, Slack is going to be a very good thing, a good software to communicate. But most employers nowadays are going to use it, especially if you're working remotely. So you're going to heard of it, you're to hear it if you haven't already. And the very last set of softwares in or tools in this list is Google Suite. So essentially, Google Docs, Google Slides, Sheets, all of those apps from Google. I use it pretty much on, I wouldn't say on a daily basis, but a weekly basis for sure. So it's a great set of tools. I don't necessarily love them, meaning that there are some pros and cons. And nowadays I find myself using Notion, which is another really cool tool, but most people are not using Notion, so you have to still use Google Suite tools once in a while, especially if you're working on collaborative projects. Notion is another bonus tool which I would highly recommend you to check out, especially for personal management and all those things which don't really require someone else needing to know how to use Notion. So this is pretty much it for this list. Hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you in the very next one.